It was supposed to be the ultimate tank game of the season, the Tank Bowl, the Tankathon between the Chicago Bulls and the Philadelphia 76ers, who are neck and neck in the standings, the Bulls being 1.5 games ahead of the Sixers going into tonight's matchup, the Brooklyn Nets in between them, a half game ahead of the Sixers, an opportunity for the Bulls to gain a full game in the tank standings to try and improve their lottery odds. And of course, the Bulls would go on to win by their largest margin, one of their largest margins of victory on the season, at one point leading in this game by as many as 50 points to completely obliterate the Philadelphia 76ers. So the Bulls lose the tank battle in this game, but honestly, the Sixers looked so incredibly checked out on this season. I don't know how anyone can be mad or blame the Bulls for fumbling an attempt to fall in the standings when the Sixers are just that bad. Like, this is a very bad team, a very disappointing team that was expected to be a title contender. And I know, they've been hammered with injuries. Obviously, Joel Embiid has missed a good amount of time this season, and he wasn't in the game tonight. But with Maxey and Paul George still in the lineup, the amount of veterans they have on their roster, they should not be this bad. Not even close to being this bad. And like I've said before, you can try and make attempts to tank a game by resting certain players, which the Bulls did, by the way, and resting Nikola Vucevic, who was probable to start the game, likely could have played if the game actually mattered, but they're like, nah, you go ahead and rest up. Io was also out, Jalen Smith also out. But yeah, anyway, I saw a lot of Bulls fans on Twitter griping about how this is so the Bulls to win in a blowout game like this against the Sixers, where they had a chance to gain momentum in the Tankathon standings. But what do you expect players to do? You think as individual players they're going to intentionally play bad? You think they're going to sit and throw the ball out of bounds on purpose so the team can lose? You want to just have them sit there on the court and refuse to play? No, these guys are still competitors at the end of the day. And a lot of them are also playing for contract. So I know some of you all are mad, but nobody was losing to that poor excuse of a Sixers performance tonight. The Bulls started Zach Collins and Kevin Huerter in this game. They had some of the weirdest rotations we've seen all season, and they still managed to win the game by close to 40 points. I don't know how you expect the Bulls to lose that game when the Sixers played some of the worst defense I've ever seen in my life, which is saying something considering I follow this Bulls team who've had some garbage games defensively this season. The Sixers, man, they're just done. I promise I'll get to the Bulls in a second, but holy cow, this team is bad. They are completely checked out all the way down to the coaching staff. Nick Nurse just looked like he didn't even want to be out there. I expect Embiid is likely done for the season based on some of the reports that are coming out about new imaging and consultation with his doctors on how to approach his situation with his knee. But yeah, I've been saying all season, eventually the Sixers will pass the Bulls in the standings, almost as if you could guarantee that there will be an extra spot they will fall in the standings for the lottery odds. But now, I'm not so sure. I really don't think the Sixers are coming out of this. Maxey's a hell of a player, but he's not bringing this team out from the bottom of the standings outside of the play-in. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the Sixers owe the Oklahoma City Thunder, yes, of course it's the Thunder, they owe the Thunder their draft pick unless it falls in the top 6. So it's very possible the Sixers just call it quits and full-on tank to do whatever they can to keep that pick. Now, as for the Bulls in this game, it's funny because this was still at times a sloppy game for the Bulls, despite the fact that they blew this team out of the water. But some of their offensive plays were a bit disjointed and chaotic that led to multiple turnovers. But what I will say is that this was some of the best cutting I've seen from this team all season. And I have to say a lot was probably because Vucevic was out of the lineup. Obviously, Vooch is a better player than Zach Collins, but Collins is more mobile, and with his mobility, it allowed for guys to make the extra pass on the back door to Matas Buzelis and Kevin Huerter. Bulls had 32 assists tonight in this game as a team, and 50 points in the paint, with more than half of those points in the paint on cuts to the basket, rather than typical post-up plays you would see from Vucevic. Of course, the Bulls shot the ball very well. They were 50% from the field. They shot 45% from behind the arc, going 18 for 40, and then unlike what we've been seeing all season, and especially after the Bulls traded away Zach LaVine, they got to the free throw line at will in this game. Now, in large part, that was due to the Sixers' horrible defense and just being lazy on that end of the floor, but the Bulls got to the free throw line 36 times in this contest and shot it at a 94% clip from the stripe. The Bulls were efficient, they were scoring at all levels, they were playing fast, moving the ball well, and dare I say it, they even played decent defense. And look, I gotta start with Josh Giddey on this one. And I likely need to do a dedicated video on this topic because Josh Giddey, ever since the Zach LaVine trade, has stepped up big time and taken advantage of this opportunity. For all the Josh Giddey haters who said He sucked, he doesn't impact winning, he's a net negative when he's on the court, which even I, myself, have said was a problem, especially in the early going of his career and especially at the start of the Bulls season. But he's been incredible the past couple of weeks and doing everything he can to help this team win, which I guess that in and of itself is probably pissing off a lot of Bulls fans. But he's been shooting the ball much better, 3 for 3 from deep tonight. His finishing at the rim has considerably improved. He's recognizing mismatches and going at smaller guards and attacking the paint. He was 8 for 11 overall, 25 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, and 3 blocks, and a plus 28 when he was on the court in his 31 minutes of play. Giddey has really upped his overall effectiveness and awareness on offense, and I am absolutely loving also the Giddey to Modest connection in the open court and in the pick and roll. If the Bulls re-sign Giddey, which there's no doubt in my mind that they will, we're going to be seeing more and more of that for years to come. Giddey does need to work on his turnovers though, and especially those ones where he's driving to the basket and just dribbles it into the defender's hands on a fast break. 6 turnovers tonight in this game for Giddey, of the Bulls 13 in total. How about Kevin Huerter? Just last week we were calling him the tank commander for being so bad when he was out there that it was helping the Bulls in their quest to tank the season. Man hit 7 threes tonight, 7. Had 23 points on 7 for 11 from 3. He was moving well without the ball in the catch and shoot, which he's obviously much more effective at as a player. Seems like he started to find his rhythm with this team. And then Modest Buzelis getting a career high in minutes, 36 minutes in total, which we expected in a game like this when the Bulls are so depleted. Not the most efficient game for Modest from an offensive perspective, but as I've said so many times before, what I appreciate and like seeing is the aggression, the persistence, the energy, a stark contrast from what we've seen from Patrick Williams. And hey, kid still managed to tally 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists, and was a plus 40 when he was on the court. Was 6 for 17 overall from the field, but one thing I like seeing more of is his court vision. Some of those passes in the two-man game with him and Zach Collins, that was very nice to see. Speaking of Zach Collins, gets his first start with the Bulls with Vucevic being out and actually played decently well. Had 19 points and 5 rebounds, was solid on the defensive end. He actually fit well with the Bulls' overall offensive flow. I still don't think there's a chance he's going to be part of the Bulls' long-term plans. If anything, games like this are good if you're going to try and attempt to move him this summer. But I like what I saw from him in this game. Next man up mentality with Vooch being out. The other things I like seeing in this one, because it's kind of sad now that we're just not hoping for wins, but what we can be excited about is the development for some of these younger guys, and Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips had solid games, especially Dalen Terry, who put up a career high in 17 points on 6 for 8 shooting, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Coby White, oddly enough, he came off the bench in this game, even though he was listed to start. I don't know what happened. He ended up coming off the bench a few minutes into the game. I mean, he played okay. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. I think, for me, it's just becoming more and more obvious that teams are guarding him much more differently now that Zach LaVine is no longer on the roster. And you could even go back further and say now that DeMar is no longer on the team as well. So yes, he's not getting the same looks as before. He's had to deal with double teams, and because of that, you're seeing his scoring numbers and shooting percentages go down. And to me, it's crazy to think that Josh Giddey would be a more efficient scorer than Coby post-Zach LaVine trade. I mean, we'll see if that trend continues, but I'm sure this is going to be a big factor in how the Bulls approach this offseason with the impending restricted free agency of Josh Giddey and Coby White being extension eligible. I'll put out a video talking more about that though, but in the meantime, you guys let me know your thoughts on this game. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.